to bridge that gap to depression.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
how do we know when our child has moved to that
Yeah.
point?
Yeah.
That we're now getting to a point where it's the sinking is happening.
Yeah. And it's such a common thing in our American culture, because we just have a weird lifestyle and a lot of pressure on teens.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So for teenagers, it looks a bunch of different ways if there's actually depression going on. So it's really good to observe your kids and just kind of know who they are. So, some kids will just tell you they feel sad all the time. And if I could say this to the folks who are listening, if your teen says they're sad all the time, don't say, well, I don't think you're depressed.
Right.
Just say, I hear you saying you're sad. So we don't
like that.
Yeah, just please don't crawl in your kid's head and tell them whether or not they're depressed. Just listen. So, so some will tell you that, but some don't even know, because teenagers don't know how to read themselves well sometimes. So they can't tell you they're feeling sad.
Right.
They don't know that, but all they feel like doing is gaming all day. Or they disappear in their room and you don't see them all day.
Right.
Or they fight with their siblings all the time, and it's way worse than it used to be. I mean, all siblings get irritating with each other.
Right.
That's
but it's above and beyond that.
Yeah. Or they had friends and they got into big fights with all the friends, and now they're not talking to anybody. Or it could look like you're catching them on one of their social media just friending a whole bunch of creepy adults, like needing some positive feedback.
Right.
So Leah Neiman, if you need to help with kids in tech, leahneiman.com is my go-to person for that. So if you see them like harming themselves, you see suspicious kind of scratches or cuts, or they start giving away stuff, things like that. You go like, whether or not they're telling you they're sad, they're sad. If they can't sleep at night and they just tell you night after night they can't sleep, or they want to sleep 24/7, so the sleeping is way off. If they have a dramatic change in eating, so they, aren't eating, I'm not hungry, I'm never hungry, I don't like anything. Or they start like carb binging. That all of those things are ways that teenagers kind of act out depression. So they may not be able to say it, but they act out. Or they used to love something and then they don't like it anymore at all. In fact, they don't like anything. Everything's bad. It's all boring. And so that loss of interest in things.
Yeah.
So it's really kind of like a puzzle you put together. And it's really hard to, like adults, we can go down a checklist.
Exactly.
And, like the diagnostic manual says this. But teenagers are just so complex because they're so in this identity development, and that we just have to look at a package of symptoms. And so the cool thing about depression is you do the same things you do with anxiety. Is you build the water, the fruits and vegetables, the exercise, the sleep patterns, the breathing.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
And then you heal the sad. And that's really, really useful for a counselor to come in. But for a parent's part, what they can do is actually sit down with a kid and have conversations. Now, with teenagers, a lot of times they won't sit across the table and have a conversation. But if you put them in the car and
I was going to say, that's a perfect spot.
and go for a drive, they will open up. Now, you can't let them bring their earbuds with them or anything.
Right,
exactly. That in a car, most teenagers will open up. I have never figured that one out. But just to let them talk about whatever kind of goofball thing is happening, because it's not so much what they're saying, it's that they're using words.
Yes. Yeah.
And so that there's actual healing in words, even if it's not about the sad, it's just words.
Yep.
Another thing parents can do is to do creative things. So art, drawing or sculpting or sewing or building birdhouses or things where you use your creative mind. So to sit together and do some projects where creativity is
Right.
engaged, that releases some therapeutic hormones. So there's some healing just in that. So, and to create some positive experiences, just like we handle the quarantine, go
Right.
do some new things. And sometimes just the breaking up the ordinary and doing some talking and doing your biological infrastructure, that will be enough.
It just
But
kind of breaks that.
yeah,
Yeah.
because our bodies by and large want to heal, so the serotonin, which is low when a teen has depression,
Right.
that wants to heal. Now sometimes there's a biological deficit, like the brain just doesn't make serotonin like it should.
Right.
And it's just like diabetes, that if someone is juvenile diabetes, it's their body just is not making insulin the way it's supposed to.
Right.
The neurotransmitters are the same, and those kids will have to learn how to manage that, and they may need medication. So that's a whole
that was my whole teen thing, was the serotonin. But I was on anti. I had a whole series of things in my life, my younger life, that caused anxiety from a very young age. And so they medicated me a lot, and it killed a lot of my gut bacteria. And because serotonin is produced in your gut, I found that when I healed my gut, my depression went away.
All right,
and
that's
the same,
so important.
Same thing happened to both my sons, because they, of course, inherited my gut bacteria. That's what mom does. And so yes, they both went through little bouts when they were younger with depression, but it was completely related to our gut being unhealthy.
Yeah, along with the fruits and vegetables, eating things that help that good gut biome is really a good idea. So when I go to continuing eds, they say that yogurt and kimchi are some of the best things that you can eat. So what do you like to do to help you?
I ferment a lot of food myself, so I make my own sauerkraut and kombucha, and and like I was just on, they put me on massive doses of antibacterial medication, so I was taking the pharmaceutical grade tablets of probiotics for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to counteract that because your body needs to have that. And in our normal food, we don't get enough good bacteria.
And our Western diet does not allow for that. Yeah, so there's so many things we can learn. And, as moms, we can learn that and teach that to our teens so that they are prepared for handling their lives. So, yeah, teens are complex, but they are so worth investing in.